Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sound Effect.
Hi, this is John Lever from Sabotage Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and you are watching The Sound Effect. Crank it up and enjoy.
Welcome to another show, and welcome to 2020. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, yes.
Happy new decade.
Yeah.
It's the raging 20s instead of the roaring 20s, right?
That was very intense.
This is going to be the last decade I'm alive.
How the hell do you know? Really? Did you look in the crystal ball or something there?
Gloom and
Scott?
doom, man.
Seems
Gloom
like
and
it.
doom.
I know,
Seems
right?
like that.
Right?
2020, awesome.
So, welcome everybody. We hope you had wonderful holidays. Hope you had a very Merry Christmas, and hope that your New Year was safe and fun, and that you had a great time. And I hope that we hope that 2020 turns out really awesome for each and every one of you. And thank you for tuning in and watching. This is season 2 of The Sound Effect, and it is episode 1, the very first one. So, thank you all for watching. I'm Todd T. Riley.
I'm Scott Johnston.
I'm Michelle Bench Novak.
And we are
The
Sound
Sound
Effects. Of course, can't forget our man behind the scenes. Always, thank you, Dougie. Appreciate you, brother. And coming up later on tonight, we have special guest Taki, lead singer of Eve to Adam. How do you pronounce your last name, brother?
Sassarus.
Sassarus.
Oh, look, I got it. Oh, my God.
There you go.
You stole me 10.
Taki Sassarus, lead singer of Eve to Adam.
And don't forget to get your vote on our social media poll. Which Christmas album did you like better, Twisted Sister or Rob Halford? So be sure that you can still get your votes in on that, and we'll share the results a little bit later in the show.
Okay, in addition to having Taki Sassarus, I got to say it because now I know how to say it. I'm very excited about that. We also have several videos from Eve to Adam. They're going to be coming up later in the show tonight as well. Also, you're going to want to stay tuned to see what else we have for you tonight. I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm kind of excited about that.
That mostly means what videos we have for you tonight. Yeah. So
If you're talking to Todd, anyway, right?
Yeah, right? It's a special thing we got going on.
In fact, we're going to introduce you
live
to
show.
Taki, but what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to the music first. So let's kick off one of the videos that we have for you tonight. This is "Hurt Me" from Eve to Adam to kick it all off.
What do you want? I have nothing to say to you at all. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear anything from you. I'm done talking.
I don't want to talk anymore. I'm so through with everything that we have to say, and it's always the same fucking thing over and over again. You don't listen to anything I have to fucking say.
And you piss me off. Every word out of your mouth.
It's just fucking trash.
I don't want to fucking hear it anymore. I'm so done with it.
I'm done. We're done. I'm done with you. I'm done with everything. It's that simple.
I don't care that I always say this and always come back. You come back too.
Take me there again tonight. No one does it better. Feed my endless appetite.
So there you go. Hurt Me, Eve to Adam. Great
Very
stuff,
cool.
man. Very,
Thank
very
you.
good stuff,
Thanks
brother.
for playing, man.
The
Appreciate it.
sound of it.
Appreciate
Welcome to the show, bro.
it. Thank you for
It's
having me.
good to have you here, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's an honor. I like what you guys are doing.
You know, Michelle and I had an opportunity a little while back here to go out and watch them shoot a new video. What's the new video again?
It's for the last single. It's called Altitude.
Altitude, yeah.
And that one actually went top 5 at the Foundation's radio chart and
Very
another
cool.
top 20 at Billboard mainstream rock chart.
Well,
Fantastic,
it
brother.
was really exciting
Congrats.
for those who don't
Thank
know
you.
the little backstory to that. I got like a last minute call from Rock Rage, because those people that know me know I've got that show on Rock Rage, and Taki is actually one of the artists on Curtain Call, you know, with the management. So he said, "Hey, there's a band filming a video in Tampa," and I had no clue, and so I had to grab Todd like last minute. So I've been joking with Todd Taki, and I've been saying that Todd and I are video vixens now. So Todd did not know he was going to be a video vixen. So looking forward to that.
I know no clue at all. I thought we were just going to come
You
on
guys were
out and,
great.
and see
Oh,
you guys and talk to
natural.
you and
It
stuff.
was
so,
amazing, and I didn't
yeah,
know that
had
you
a
were
lot of
going to
fun.
sing into a snake. You know.
Yeah, that was cool. That was
So
cool.
his mic stand is actually a snake, and the eyes light up.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah,
cool.
so it was really good stuff. So
we call her Snag.
oh, she's got a
Snag.
name. Oh, she's
I
got.
got one fan.
That's
There
right.
you
I
go.
saw her. I
Very
I
cool.
met her
Yeah.
this weekend.
And actually, we've got a GoPro set up like in the front of the snake's head, so like that way when I'm like using the mic stand and singing into it, like it's getting footage of the crowd and stuff.
That's awesome.
So you can be on the Snag cam.
Snag cat.
Snack can.
Get snagged.
Man, my girlfriend wants to be on the
Snag
I'm
Snag
totally
cam.
digging that. I'm totally digging that.
You know what you got to do to get on the snake cam.
Yeah, exactly. Baby, it ain't easy to get on the Snag cam. I don't think you're ready to pay them prices. You know?
What's it take to get on this snag?
We'll
cam?
talk about that after these messages.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a family friendly.
Cletus,
Taki,
you can bring the
Taki,
cow
I think-
back.
I was told to keep it clean.
Yeah.
I think I'm blushing. I think I'm blushing over here. We didn't tell you
Well,
to keep it clean.
you don't have to keep
No,
it
you're
completely
not
clean.
clean.
Just cut down on the cussing.
Well, Scott and I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
Very
just
good,
all
right.
the swear words, and we're gonna say
Sexual innuendo, okay, no swear words. I got it. All right. Nah,
Cool.
I like this.
Yeah, we
Gotta
don't
know
we
where
don't
the
have
sandbox
the little dump button, so we can't,
So
we
does
can't.
Dave
yeah,
Matthews.
it is live. There's no tape delay.
Nice.
I want to mention something while we're talking about it. You've got some really exciting stuff coming up, as we've been talking about this as well. You are going out on tour with Queensryche and John 5, and that is coming up next week. You're kicking it off in Florida. Lucky us.
Yeah, we're in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, so
January 17th.
So tell us about that and how excited you are about that, because I know you're stoked because we talked about this recently.
I mean, we've been just working really hard for the last 18 months. I mean, since we've been on Curtain Call, we've just been hammering it on the road, and they've been really great at doing promo and radio and everything. And, you know, we just kept really great momentum going, you know. And
Very
it's like for people that know what's going on in the rock and metal world today, if you're, you know, emerging artist, you know, it's like it's quite different than even 5 years ago, and forget about 10
heck
years
yeah.
ago. If you compare iTunes to where we are now with Spotify and stuff, I mean, things have changed so much. So, I mean, really, you've got to be out there. You know, whether it's a premier, amazing tour like Queensryche and John 5, or you know, just doing club shows with other bands that, you know, on your level or whatnot. It's all about grinding, really, man. Getting out there and taking shows. I mean, that you don't really want to take, don't pay so well, whatever. So I mean, that's the one thing we did when we came back and we signed with Curtain Call and stuff. It's like we had a very explicit agenda, which was do everything that comes your way. You know, I mean, do not be the guys that are like, no, I'm not doing that and this and that, because when you're trying to reestablish yourself and trying to get that momentum going, you know what I mean, it's important. You know, some of them are going to be gems, some are not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you've got to be out there, and especially the way social media works.
And you never know who you're playing in front of. You really
who's
don't.
taping, who's you know,
You
who's
know.
videoing you, and where it's going to end up. And so, you know, it's every show is like your last, almost,
Sure.
you know, and you play to win no matter what. So Queensryche is the culmination of quite a bit of work, and that's what feels really good about it, because you know, we really feel like we've earned the opportunity, and you know, we are all fans of the band. I mean, I grew up listening to Queensryche, and it's just an honor to be opening for them. And then of course John 5.
Heck yeah.
John 5 is, you know, a
You
legend.
like guitar?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Hell
incredible. I mean, the first time
You
I
know,
saw him was
He's a
in
monster on
1998
guitar, man.
in New York City, and he was with Marilyn Manson on the Mechanical Animals tour at Hammerstein Ballroom. You know, Mechanical Animals had just come out. It was #1 in the country. You know, and Marilyn Manson was like, you know, in the first, let's say, chapter of his his ascent to superstardom, you know?
Right.
So it was exciting, and he was just a phenomenal performer, but just what he was doing on the guitar was equally as great. So, you know, now that he's with Rob Zombie and been with Rob for quite some time, you know, we have a lot of respect for John, and he's a super cool guy. I've met him a couple times, and Island, my bass player, also knows him pretty well. So we're looking forward to having a really great, professional, fun tour, you know, with guys that we respect and that we
How
can
long
learn,
are you going for?
learn something from. 6 weeks. It's almost like, I think it's just under 30 shows in 6 weeks.
Nice.
Coast
Cool.
to coast. Starts in Florida, goes all the way out to the Pacific Coast Highway out there. So San Diego all the way up.
Yeah, and you're
Yes.
playing here in
Seattle.
the Tampa area very soon as well.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the
We're
beginning,
the
so-
legendary Janice Live.
yeah,
Legendary.
Oh,
yes.
It is legendary.
It absolutely
It is
is.
absolutely
yeah.
Seen
legendary.
shows there when
so-
it's Janice Land.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
me too.
Oh, yeah,
me
me
too.
too.
Well,
Testament,
all of us, because we're
Extreme,
local.
so many
so.
cool bands, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So when is that show?
That is
18th.
Saturday, January 18th.
Yep.
Yeah.
See,
That's
I-
a funny story. I haven't actually been back there since I went to see Boba Flex
Oh,
a couple of years ago, which is where I met Island.
Were they playing with
And,
Seven Dust back then, or no?
No, this was a couple years ago. They were doing a big free show. It was like it was about January or early February time, 2018.
Right.
And, you know, I'm a fan of Boba Flex. I know the guys, the brothers, for a long time and stuff. And actually one of the bands that's been going as long as we have, really, and just recently kind of took a hiatus. I like to say the word hiatus because I know a lot of bands that go, I'm done, I'm out. And then 8 months later, like, well, I guess I'm back. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
I hope they come back because they're a great band. But actually, Island was playing in the band at the time, Together in Exile, and I was looking for a bass player. Cause I had a,
Thomas's band.
Yeah, Thomas
Thomas
Crane's
Crane's
band,
band.
Right.
Yeah,
So
they were a great
I
band.
seen him on the stage, and I was like, man, that guy is like, he's like Nikki Sixx mixed with like, you know, that punk edge, you know what I mean? It was like, he's just a rock star. So that's where I met Island, and we became friends. And then he came and auditioned for the band. I mean, I didn't know he was an Eve to Adam fan, actually, because I was like, well, you know, he's like, which band are you in? And then when I told him the band name, he was like, oh, dude, I've been listening to you guys for years, man. I would love to play with you guys and stuff. And that's where that all began. Like 2 weeks later, we were out on the road on the first tour back since I had taken some time off, you know. So, and now he's one of my, you know, principal partners in the group and stuff.
Cool.
We've become like brothers. So, but yeah, so Janice Live, a lot of history there for me, just in the last 2 years. So
Excellent.
this is really symbolic for me, you know, to be
Nice.
to be on this tour.
It's a great
and-
place
and
to see a
rocking that
show
place.
too.
Oh yeah, it's outdoors.
Yeah.
You know, great
Cool
acoustics.
little venue, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like real intimate show.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Yeah,
I
I
couldn't be
like
happier.
the venue. It's
Yeah.
great, unless it's raining. Then it's
Right.
It's not great.
Right.
But we got some people popping on here. Ashley Taylor, of course, said hello. And
Hi,
then,
Ashley.
And then we've got Natasha and Danica popped on. That's
Natasha and
that's,
Danica.
Hello, hello.
that's a Todd's crush is Danica. So we got to say that.
Danica Patrick.
No. I can't even say her last name. That'd be your job over there. So I can say Taki's last name, but I can't say yours. But Taki, there's actually a couple people on here. Lisa Thompson Sapp. They're saying that they saw you at the House of Blues over
Okay.
the weekend, which I did
All right.
as well. So that was really cool to finally get to see a full show of you guys. So I really enjoyed
Nice.
that.
Yeah,
so
I would have loved
We had a
to
good
so
see
we got
time.
Lisa and Ashley that were actually checking you out over at the House of Blues this
Awesome.
weekend.
Thanks for coming out, girls.
Nice.
Thank you. That was a good time. I mean, how could you not want to play the House of Blues in Orlando? You know, it's an incredible sounding venue, and we got a chance to do it with our friends Breathing Theory, who's also a killer Central Florida band, and there was their album release party. So
Nice.
they asked us to play the show, and yeah, we were honored. You know, I think it's nice to be a national band that's part of a really great regional scene here in Florida. I think we've got one of the best hard rock and metal scenes in the country, and it's always great to go head to head with bands that are that bring it every night. You know what I mean?
Sure,
So
it was
keeps you on your
great.
toes. You know,
Sure.
it's a good undercard fight, so to speak. You know, and get in the ring, and those guys are a great band. The entire lineup was awesome, and it was a good fun night. I mean, for the first Friday of the new year. You know, right out the gate, kind of that holiday hangover, I like to call it. You
Yeah.
know, where you're not sure when you're going back to work and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, it was good. We had a great time, and it was a good crowd, and yeah, it was actually our very first show with our new guitar player.
He did great, by the way. I was
He's-
very impressed. He's beast. It was really
he's
good.
awesome. Ronnie
Ronnie, yeah, it was good.
Gutierrez, who's formerly of Cobra and the Lotus.
Yeah.
And he's out of the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, I tell you, I mean, I'm very excited about this tour. I'm really excited about the
Cool.
chemistry in the band right now. So,
Oh,
it's gonna be a lot of
I
fun.
think it was great. And Ashley's also said that they're going to go see Queensryche, and the girls are talking about getting a picture with you, with the ladies from the, I hope I'm saying this right, Ashley, Cogs of War.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
Ashley's saying that we got to get a picture of Taki with the ladies. So yeah, see, I told you, Taki. The ladies want the picture with Taki. I told you guys. I told you this, and I think it's your fault for showing your abs all the time. I'm pretty sure.
It's not all the time. That was like a special thing.
And the thing is
for bigger venues.
you can get your picture with Taki for only $9.95. It's right after he's done playing. It's meet and greet. It's
Venmo.
Either with the abs or the straight jacket. Either one, because he wears a straight jacket on stage when he sings Straight Jacket Supermodel, which I think is an amazing song, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's one of my favorites to play, and it's a fan favorite. And I got the chance to work with Eric Bass on that song back in 2013. And if you don't know who Eric Bass is, where have you been? He's in a little band called Shinedown. Yeah, he's a bass player, but he's so much more. He's an incredible composer and an awesome songwriter. And been trying to get him on the phone. Eric, call me. No, he's awesome to work with, and we're actually getting ready to make another record. So, did they say that anymore? Records?
Sure, you could
every
say
now and then.
records.
Getting
We're
ready
fine.
to make another
Vinyl.
assortment of files that you can illegally download.
Yeah, what's a record?
Something like that.
All right. Lisa
album.
says with the straight jacket, and
Yeah.
Ashley says yes, his chest does help. LOL.
I'll tell my personal trainer.
See, I told you. I told you.
I don't have a personal trainer. I'm not White Snake.
But I'd like to get one.
Are you your personal trainer?
Yeah,
Taki?
I'm definitely my personal trainer. For sure, I'm the guy who drags my ass out of bed and goes to Planet Fitness on tour.
Train myself.
That's cool. No,
You
that's
train
good.
yourself to get out of bed and go down there. Right?
I admire the
Talk myself
discipline.
into it. 2 espressos and a pre-workout, and usually I'm ready to hit the treadmill. Yeah. So.
It's great. Well, I was really impressed when you guys did this video shoot, man. You really came across extremely professional. You guys were on the ball no matter how many times they replayed the song for you so that Thomas could get different angles and different shots and stuff. You guys were right there. You were right on the nose and just ready to go.
We had a very short window of time, so but we've been doing it for a minute, so we know what we're doing, and it's nice when you get a group together that's all on the same page and has similar experience level. So it's like Ronnie was just like plug in and play with that guy. I mean, he was just such a pleasure to be around, and he brings it on the stage, and then he's just really kind of goofy, happy-go-lucky guy backstage, which is cool because comedy is really a big part of survival.
No, heck yeah.
In any entertainment facet, but especially when you're touring constantly, in an RV or a bus, or if you're doing fly dates, whatever, you're spending 20 hours a day, 19 hours a day at least together,
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice if you can have somebody that can tell some good jokes,
Oh yeah, I mean, if you can have
Lighten the
some
mood.
levity, and you can kind of bust on each other a little bit. Nobody takes it too seriously. It helps. It definitely does. You do spend a lot of time together, and there's not a lot of privacy. Boundaries are kind of shared. So that chemistry really comes into play, especially when you really discover whether or not you have it or not when the elements start surrounding you. The schedule starts to stack up, and you get that pressure, and and then if you're not, if you don't fall victim to the pressure, then you're doing okay. So it's almost it's a catch-22 because you don't know it until you either realize it or you're like, oh, I hate this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like 3 weeks into a 8-week tour, and you're like, how am I gonna get through this?
How are we going to tell this guy to take a shower?
How come that he always goes to the back lounge when I'm over here?
Taki cracks me up when he does that deep voice, like in between. Do it. It's awesome. That is awesome.
I call it my Law and Order Special Victims Unit voice.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay.
totally.
Okay. Well, my assistant on Shaking the Rafters with Michelle, he's actually Australian, and his name is Laurie Nicol. And he wants to know where the name Taki comes from. And then he asked if you actually had New Zealand heritage. I know the answer to that, but I'm going to let you answer it.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique name, man. I've never heard it before. So.
Yeah,
It's a snack that my kids eat called Taki.
Yeah, it is a chip.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some of those stocks, but it's not working out for me yet. I'm actually Greek American, so I'm first generation Greek American. Both my parents are from Greece. My father is from a small village south of Sparta, and my mom's from the island of Corfu. So I'm named after my father's dad, my grandfather on my dad's side, and his name it's actually Panayotaki is my full name, and I go by Taki. So
Cool.
and it's kind of a nickname. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you have seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and Taki is a character in that.
So-
Taki's gonna bring the lamb. I'm the guy who brings the lamb. So.
When your mom got mad at you, what'd she call you?
Panayoti, run! Mom's in a mood. Run.
There's the voice. You hear it? Mom's in a mood.
But no, I'm not no Kiwi descent, but I do have some friends in a band you might know called Like a Storm that are probably some pretty famous Kiwis at this point. They've been doing really well. And I did actually tour with them back in 2012 when we were out on the road with Creed. And
Very
we
cool.
did like the last leg of the tour with Like a Storm. And they're from New Zealand. And I found out a lot about the didgeridoo by hanging out with those guys. So yeah, hopefully we get a chance to do Australia and New Zealand one day. That'd be really cool.
So while on tour with Creed, anybody mistake you for Scott Stapp?
No one did mistake me for Scott Stapp. Scott is his own entity, and he does that very well. And so, but we did become friends, and he was very cool to me. And, it was, there was a lot of good camaraderie on that tour with Mark Tremonti as well, who was very kind to us and took us under his wing and kind of like hooked us up with Michael Elvis Basquiat.
Nice.
Who we did Locked and Loaded with, and then we did Ithaca with. So he's been a very instrumental part in our development on that side, and
Very
Elvis
cool.
has become like a brother to me, so he's like family. So going into the studio with him is always awesome, and it's going to be even better this time because Ronnie also just recorded an album with Elvis, which the last Cobra and the Lotus record was done by Elvis Basquiat too. So he's already familiar with Elvis's system of recording guitars, and he's the kind of producer that you've got to be able to play. It's just, especially guitar, it's like he works with Slash and Mark Tremonti and, Warren DeMartini from Rat, and like some of the greatest guitar players
great
ever.
guitar player, yeah, right.
So it's like you can't
Better
hack
have
it
your
in
act
there.
together.
You got to be,
Right.
and Ronnie scored extremely high on the Basquiat scale. So I'm really looking forward to going in and making another album with Elvis and Ronnie at the guitar helm, because I think
Nice.
we're going to kick the door
When are
wide
you guys
open.
planning on doing that?
It's going to be sooner than later. I think it's going to be probably right before summer season starts. So I think like maybe right after some of the radio fests and whatnot. I think we're going to break it up into 2 sessions. Which
Cool.
usually is a little better. The longer sessions. I mean, not only do they create scheduling problems for a producer like Elvis, but also with a band like us that we're constantly touring. It's hard to get away and lock out of a touring schedule like 6 weeks or so.
Right,
So if we can do
right.
3 and 3, and knock out, between 7 and 11 songs. We haven't really decided if we're going to do like a really stacked EP and then do some live cuts from the touring. Like we're going to be recording a lot of these shows that we're doing with Queensryche digitally,
Right.
and then maybe
Cool.
we're going to mix them, and kind of do special releases throughout the year,
Nice.
because that's one thing a lot of our fans have always been asking for, is like they really love the energy live, and they'd like to get that on record. So we want to give them what they want.
Yeah, for sure. You guys been writing songs for that new album already?
Yeah. I mean, it's well, I'm constantly compiling stuff. So I mean, Island as well. I mean, we went through a terabyte worth of stuff the other day that he was like, this is stuff that's been around for a couple years, and he's got at least 10 or 12 ideas that I heard that just have great riffs. You know, we're kind of classic in that way. We just, everything, we're a guitar driven band, so it's all about the riff.
Right.
And even though everything's been done, you got to figure it out. You got to. There's plenty of, inversions of things that you can do. It's rhythmic stuff, But a great riff really is just what drives a great rock and roll or
Sure
metal
is.
song. So, and I think that's kind of like
Right.
been lost now with all the, the new technology. There's so many things you can do, and a lot of sonic landscape you can create, but there's really no substitute for a killer riff you can play on an acoustic guitar. I mean, if it rocks on an acoustic around a campfire, it's going to really rock through a Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we try to start, like the recipe in that sense, really traditional, and a lot of songwriting in general, I mean, gets done, you know, with a couple acoustic guitars, you know, sitting in the back of a bus when you're waiting to go on or you're in between shows.
That's the best time.
Yeah, I mean,
that's coming from real heart, real
you know,
feeling.
we're going to use this time out on the road with Queensryche, especially. We've got a little studio set up for the bus, and we're going to be laying down stuff every night. Because, I mean, you know, when you come off stage and you're done talking to the fans and doing everything and settling up all the business and whatnot, you get on the bus, and there's a good solid 2 hours before you naturally kind of like equalize and come down. You know?
Right.
I know.
Right.
I can't sleep till I'm usually the last guy. I know singer's supposed to go to bed first, but I'm usually the guy who's like tormenting the bus driver.
I totally believe that.
Supposed to go to sleep, man?
He's a hostage.
I totally believe
It's nothing better than seeing a guy behind the wheel looking over you. He's like, man, I'm stuck with this guy. How many weeks do I have with this guy? I'm like, man, I'm going to be here every night, man. I want to hear what you have to say.
You know what's funny?
I'll call you back, honey.
I'm telling you, you know what's funny is I have, those of you that don't know, I'm a flight attendant too. I have flight attendants. I'll go on flights in the morning and I'll be doing monsters and they'll look at me and they'll be like, you do not need that monster. You know, it's like 5 a.m.
Give me that.
And when I had
You
an
don't
opportunity
need
to talk to Taki, I was like, man, this guy's got more energy than me. It's like, I can't even follow you. What are you doing? So it's quite impressive. I can totally picture you doing that. And actually, we're getting some questions from some of the listeners.
Okay.
So we got a couple things. People want to know how you got your musical start. From what I know, your brother was initially in the band with you as well.
Yeah,
So
no,
apparently,
Alex and I built the band up till 2014 together. I mean, from 2001 to 2014, I mean, he did quite a bit of time, and then obviously developing since we were children, 12 and 10. We've been playing music since we were really just kids. You know, all started with MTV. You know, we grew up in that golden age of MTV and the height of like, you know, thrash metal, hair metal, hard rock, you know, just everything that was on the charts was just stellar quality, superstar stuff. Whether it was Bryan Adams or Slayer or if it was Metallica, you know, it's like everything was just amazing. You know, it's just I feel very grateful that I grew up in that time, you know. And then I got into high school, and then of course the grunge thing happened, and that was like, you know, I was going to high school and it was like every day there was another band breaking. It was Tool, Rage Against the Machine, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, you know, Helmet. You know, Danzig's Mother was on the charts. It was like, you know, so every day in the parking lot you'd hear like just an assortment of so many what's become now classic metal, really. You know, and that was all happening when I was in high school, and Soundgarden was breaking out huge. You know, I remember when Super Unknown came out, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then they won 4 Grammys on it, you know. So so I came from that era, you know, and then I started taking voice lessons because we couldn't find a singer. It was always like, the cool guy like couldn't sing, and then the guy that could sing you just didn't want to hang with. And I was like, man, this is tough, because I used to be a bass player and I played a little guitar too, and I used to play in cover bands and stuff. And it was like, man, we were just so frustrated. So, you know, did like background vocals and stuff, and then I just decided like, you know, I just want to.
Never thought of singing,
learn how to
playing
do it.
bass?
What's that?
You never thought of playing bass and singing?
You know, I'm not Gene Simmons. It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, it's, you know, I can do it, but, you know, at that time I'd already kind of like been, you know, I drank the elixir on, you know, kind of the frontman thing, you know what I mean? Like Axl Rose and, you know, just Eddie Vedder too was a big influence early on in like my high school years and stuff. Just like, I really enjoyed the energy of somebody, and Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden, you know what I mean? That kind of like, that you know, untouchable like energy, that like that electricity, you know, if somebody's just constantly, you don't know where they're gonna be, you know what I mean? It kind of keeps it going, you know, unpredictability, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
so I kind of like that, and that, you know, that instinctually bit onto that as a kid, and just kind of like developed as, you know, over time. You know, I went to music school, went to University of Miami School of Music, and I studied voice and composition there along with music business, and you know, then I moved to New York, you know, in 1998, which was an interesting time. You know, I'm blessed in that fact as well, because I was in New York pre 9/11, you know, and I feel like I got the last bit of a golden age that a lot of people forget about. You know, it's Derek Jeter, you know, and the Yankees were crushing it. Giuliani's city was, you know, prime, and everything was thriving, and it was a special time. Like, I lived in New York 17 years, and, you know, towards the end, before I left, I mean, I didn't recognize the place anymore, you know. So, but I feel like I got, you know, I got an incredible education, as well. Moving to New York is, I learned a lot about, especially if you're trying to follow an artist's life, become a musician, a writer. It was the perfect canvas for me to test, my street smarts, my, just my motivation. If you really want to do it, and if you do it in New York, you really prove yourself. You know what I mean? It's really like Frank Sinatra said, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. He wasn't kidding, because everything's like 2 or 3 times harder there. Trying to do a gig, we used to cut our teeth over at CBGB's. I played there a lot,
Nice.
And was, I wouldn't say friends with Hilly Slovak, but he was a cool influence on me, because he rarely said a thing. So if he said something to you, you did something right.
There you go.
So he was a good barometer of how bad you sucked that night. And I remember the last time I ever spoke to him, he was like, "You know what? You didn't suck too bad tonight." I was like, "I'll take it."
There you go. That's nice.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? So it was a big part. I mean, I think if I would have built this band someplace else, it wouldn't be what it is today. I think New York is an integral part. It was our foundation, really, and it taught Alex and I what we wanted, what we didn't want, and it forged us also, in a different kind of testament and firmament. Like, our threshold for pain was much higher than, say, a band from, I don't know, anywhere, insert any other place. Even LA guys. I mean, LA is, there lots of talent out there, but the hustle's a little different. The New York hustle is, it's really upbeat and relentless and unforgiving. I remember doing a lot of showcases for Sony Records and Universal and countless. I mean, at the time it was early 2000s. They were still signing a lot of bands at the time, and the album system and the label system was still very active and thriving, which I kind of miss. But, there's good things about today, and then there's things that just, are not the same, development, songwriting, A&R. I don't know if that's just an old term now or whatever, but not really. The label we're on, Curtain Call, I mean, I give them a lot of credit. They are probably the singular A&R source in America for hard rock and metal. I mean, I think John and Gigi listen to more music than, the next 5 labels combined,
I'm actually very biased since they're part of my Rock Rage family, but yeah, I appreciate what they're doing out there as well, and we've got a couple more questions for you. Someone's asked, what was your biggest influence with the hair metal bands?
Wow. What should I say here? There were so many greats. I loved music. It really depends on what you would qualify as hair metal, because you've got Cinderella, and then you've got, they always lumped Guns N' Roses in there as a hair metal band, which I never thought really was a hair metal band. But when I was in 6th and 7th grade, I loved Poison and Motley Crue. Motley Crue was probably Motley Crue and Ozzy at the time. Ozzy was doing the big hair, right?
Sure.
And then, when you're 7 or 8 years old, you don't know Black Sabbath, right? Ozzy, Bark at the Moon, Crazy Train,
right.
So it's like, Ozzy and Motley Crue were a big influence for sure. If I can name a few others that were, Skid Row was in there as well. I was in like 7th grade, 8th grade or so. Yeah, and I just saw Sebastian Bach celebrating, their 30th anniversary.
Isn't that crazy?
That first album.
Yeah.
And actually, Ronnie, who's now in the band with us, he was out on that tour with Cobra and the Lotus. They were opening for Sebastian, and said that was pretty incredible tour, and I'll just leave it at that.
Very cool.
Intense.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You've been on the road with a lot of great bands, man. You played with Daughtry, Three Doors Down, Saliva, Crossfade, Smile Empty Soul, Tesla, 12 Stones, Hailstorm. In this moment, what would you consider
blessed.
Probably your biggest highlight and the best band that you ever worked with and toured with?
Wow, that's an interesting. What's the best? The Hailstorm tour in this moment was a really unique experience, because I was the only male singer on the tour, and I was opening the show, and also both of those bands in 2012 were really kicking it into another gear, So
Right.
Kind of got to see that machine take off, which is great. They're kicking ass now for sure. But Korn, honestly, we played a couple shows with Korn when Immortal was on like number 13 on the charts, and that was an awesome experience, actually, because I was a big Korn fan, and just seeing their entire operation and the various, diversity between the characters, backstage, between Jonathan and Monkey and Head, and like, You're like, how does this all work? But then you hit the stage, and it's like, wow, that's how it works, you know?
Very cool.
So yeah, I mean, and then I did Chris Daughtry's. We did Daughtry's very first rock tour right after American Idol in 2007.
I'm a huge fan of his.
54
I
shows
love
with
Daughtry. Yeah.
Great
Huge
voice,
fan.
Daughtry's
awesome
awesome.
singer.
I finally had the opportunity to meet him, and I was so excited. And then I was very excited about The Masked Singer because he was actually, I don't want to spoil this for anyone that might be watching it on, he was actually the Rottweiler on there. And my friend Laura, when she heard the Rottweiler singing, she's like, I know that's Chris Daughtry. I know that's Chris, and it was.
You
So
couldn't
that was
mistake
pretty.
his
So that was
voice.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very distinctive, yeah, and I think he's a very talented vocalist.
But actually,
so that's
now,
very cool.
now that I come to think of it, right, we've done a lot of festivals over the last like 6-7 years when we were really hitting it at radio and touring a lot. And one actually stands out for me. We did 2014. We did Rocklahoma, and we were on the Jägermeister stage, and we were on the stage with like Butcher Babies, right? Which is a really crazy intense show.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you haven't never seen that show, you definitely should see that show. It's pretty incredible. But the headliner was Down.
Nice.
And I'd never gotten the chance to see them play, you know, and then to get to meet Phil Anselmo and Pepper Keenan, and just to see the kind of power that like Phil Anselmo has as a frontman, you know, the way he wields like,
Phil.
you know, the crowd, you know, it's just almost like reminded me of like a, you know, like almost like a wizard or a sorcerer, you know. I mean, whatever he would do, you know, wherever he would set his intent, he could do it, you know, he manifested, and that was really cool to watch. And then getting a chance to party with those guys after was awesome too.
I love Phil. You know, I actually did a live interview with Phil at the Spooky Empire Convention, live Q&A, and they had called me and asked me to do it. And he was like, hey, I'm warning you, Phil's intense. Last time he came out barefoot. I don't know what he'll say. Blah, 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 blah. Are you willing to do it? And I was like, yeah, as long as I can talk to him prior to the interviews. If I can sit down and spend some time talking to him before we get up on stage. So Phil and I sat on the curb for like 30 minutes and talked. And he is nothing like people think. I mean, he is a great guy.
He's down to earth.
He
He's
is
super
really,
smart.
really, absolutely.
He knows his stuff. For
I
sure.
love him. I mean, I was so glad that I had the opportunity to get to speak to him because he is definitely very different than people think. He's got a lot more to him.
Oh, yeah.
You know, great guy.
Yeah, and
So I
one of
love
the
that you
greatest
mentioned
bands ever,
him.
too,
And
so-
like he's a beast on stage as well, like you said, which is very cool.
This is big time
Nobody
beast on
like
stage.
him. Yeah, he's definitely, you know, he's in the top tier of all time guys, you know. And I mean, really created, you know, I would say he's the godfather of like hard scream vocal.
thrash.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's before
You know.
Pantera. I mean, there was never a band that intense on radio.
No.
They were the first guys to break through that firewall.
Right, and even when all the metal and stuff started changing in radio and everything,
I miss
Pantera
Pantera.
still went #1 with their album sales, even though they weren't getting any more exposure.
Yeah,
You know?
no,
Right.
real testimony to the guy that signed them at East. I think it was East West, which is Warner Brothers at the time. And I remember watching a documentary on how laborious it was for him to work those guys to radio because, you know, it was so far more aggressive
Yeah.
than where the standard was for FM rock radio. you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Right.
And I mean, that in itself was a victory because it opened up the door for a lot of heavier music to hit the mainstream. you
Yeah,
know?
I think bands like Metallica obviously opened the way for that and led the way. You know,
No, for
to-
sure. I mean, one
to-
for sure you could say that. You
But
know,
it,
in that
it
sense.
got it was
but I mean,
heavier.
but Pantera
but
was like.
Pantera took it to a
I
whole
mean,
nother
Metallica has
level.
always been heavy, and it's had a certain refinement
Yeah,
that Pantera had in Dime's playing.
right.
But then the aggression,
There wasn't
the
anything.
fueled aggression was.
it
is
wasn't
a
being
different,
held back.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
Pure animal, like,
Right,
very
right.
primal, you
Yeah.
know, and dangerous. You know, and the show is like very electric, like you didn't know what was going to happen. You know, I think that's what's missing today. You know,
Yeah.
is that kind of like, oh man, what's going to happen now? Because if you go see bands now, it's like the production's incredible, but a lot of it is so metered out. And if you see one or two shows, you know, they
you've
don't
seen
switch
it
up
all.
the banter, the set list. Like, you know, you got to do. I mean, like,
Right,
we try
right.
to rotate. Like on this tour, we've got 3 different sets that we're playing. You know, so that if you come to Houston and you see us in Dallas, it's going to be some variance. You know what I mean?
Nice.
I wouldn't want to do that as a fan. If I was following a band,
Sure.
the last thing I
Oh,
want to do is
absolutely.
see 3 shows in a row and go, I think it's time to go use a crapper. I know what they're going to do right now, and I got to go. This will be a good time.
There's the jockey that I was talking to.
Well, you know, you see those moments, man. You're at a show,
Hey,
and
gotta
you
go
can
use
sense
the
it,
crap.
right?
Right, right.
Songs in, and that guy's like, oh, I shouldn't have that chili dog. But it looks like they're playing the same set, so I'll be right back, John. I'll be right back.
I know
you know?
exactly
Yeah, I
what
know this
song's
part.
coming
I know what's
on
going
next,
up.
and it's my least favorite, so
I mean,
I'm going.
I think, you know, I think where things are headed. I mean, and some place that we're trying to do is just like, you know, an interesting meshing of, you know, the modern tactics of, you know, bringing a band to life, right, with the records you make in the studio now compared to how you used to make them, right? So everything's layered. There's a lot of more production, so that's got to be there. So, but there's a way to balance it so that you can still represent all this stuff and not have it be so painting by numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think you know, I think rock and roll is supposed to be, you know, unpredictable, and I think that's something that's killing it right now. I think that's why a lot of kids are elsewhere because, you know, you've got to keep their attention and keep the attention. You've got to be able to
Got to
do
make
things
it
that,
different. And
you know, you just
going.
you got to keep them guessing.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
you know.
For sure.
So in reference to the rest of this year, before we play some more of your videos, just wondering what you guys got going on and what you got planned for the rest of the year. I know we're doing the tour.
Yeah,
New
well-
music coming out.
Yep, recording new music, and then there's going to be another big tour this summer. So we are.
Is that under wraps for the moment?
It is
Yes,
under
I can
wraps.
tell by the
can't-
smile.
I can't say. I can't
And,
say. But
When's
it
the new
is.
video that
That's
we're
what I
in
was going to ask you
coming
too.
out?
When does mine and Todd's video vixen debut happen?
We'll be sure
I
to
have
play
a
that on the
feeling-
show, by the way.
I have a feeling it'll be coming out right before the start of the Queensryche tour.
Oh, I'm very excited. I hope I look skinny. Thanks.
They cut off my head.
Work hard on that, Thomas.
He's talking to Thomas. Also, I just want to say one more thing before we go to your videos. I heard that you do an incredibly mean Neil Diamond.
He has been talking crap.
I can't say.
Love on the rise. Ain't no surprise. I'll tell you some lies. My mom used to listen to Neil.
That's pretty awesome.
You know,
I'm
Neil,
digging it.
Neil,
Yeah.
I think Neil's got one of the greatest baritones ever, you know, and he's an incredible songwriter. But yeah, I grew up on Neil Diamond because when I was a really little kid, my mom would listen to, you know, in the 70s, late 70s, it was like, you know, singer-songwriter stuff. So you had Jim Croce.
Yeah. My
you know,
mom
Harry
listened to all that,
Chapin,
too. Yeah.
You know,
Sure, yeah.
Bread, America.
Yeah, I
You
grew
know,
up on all
Joni
those.
Mitchell,
Yeah.
Joan Baez. You know, and then you know you had Neil Diamond, who was definitely, you know, Neil Diamond doing stuff with Barbra Streisand and like all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in the back of a station wagon that's got wood paneling on it.
You're kind of trapped then,
She
right?
said we were going to the toy store. How many more Carpenter songs are there? But you know, God bless my mom. Like, you know, I learned a lot about songwriting early on because those were great writers, great
Yeah.
songs.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
And I mean, even if you
absolutely.
listen to today, you know, even Captain and Tennille, it's a little cheesy, but those the songs you remember,
Oh, yeah.
hooks that you remember, lyrics
Yep.
that were, you know, that stuck out in your mind, you know. So I think I absorbed a lot of that, you know. And being a Zennial, I found out the other day, you're a Zennial. I was like, what's a Zennial? You're in between X and Millennial. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I don't want to say what you are, but
You got a cigarette, man, or what? You know what I mean? What else you got for me today? You know. So yeah. So there you go. So yeah. I you know grew up in a great time. I mean, you got Van Halen, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had the British wave of stuff. You know, Iron Maiden and
Judas
Priest.
Priest.
You know?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you look back on this time and you're just like, you know, from the like late 70s into like really the mid 90s, there was like an incredible continuous evolution of hard rock and metal. Right?
Yeah,
Coming
yeah.
from all over, right? From England and then the West Coast and you had the East Coast and you had Southern stuff too. I mean, it's like, it's insane. I mean, I was like, I look at that and go, man, I don't think we're doing our job. we need to kick it up a notch, you know, because, I mean, I guess we owe it all to Quiet Riot too, right? I mean,
Right.
You know, and I actually got to meet Frankie last year.
Frankie's great.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. We played a festival
First
in
metal
Arkansas
band to ever go platinum.
with Quiet Riot. Yeah.
And my friend Chuck is actually in that band. I love Chuck Wright. He's a great guy. Bass player Chuck Wright. He's
Yeah.
a cool guy.
Yeah, they killed it that night. It was great. It was great to see him. You know, and Frankie's just, you know, he's just amazing. So I mean, but yeah, you're right. The first band that ever went platinum that really keyed off a lot of the label execs that were like, hey, wait a second.
yeah,
Right.
there's some money
This
there.
whole heavy metal thing could be
Yeah.
something, and let's throw a power ballad on it and call it a day, you know.
Yeah.
And then that was
Then
the
the
next
LA
8 years
scene
of
exploded,
everything.
right, right.
Right.
You know? But yeah, you know, so I mean, like I grew up with like lead guitar players that were rock stars, you know.
Oh,
what I
heck
mean?
yeah.
Like, you know, so whether it was Steve Stevens or if it was CeCe DeVille or if it was, you know, Eddie Van Halen. I mean, like, you know, obviously Eddie Van Halen and CeCe DeVille back together. A lot of those guitar players can be like, don't ever mention those two guys back to back again. Sorry,
They don't
guys.
belong
I
in the
didn't mean
same
that
category.
kind of order. Did not mean in that kind of order. I was just talking about guys you remember. You know,
Right.
I remember the first time I saw Slash in the Welcome to the Jungle video.
Yeah.
You know, he's unmistakable. You would never mistake that guy for anyone else. You know?
Right, right.
Sure.
I think that's missing a little bit too. So I'm really happy to be in a band with Ronnie Gutierrez because he's a bona fide like lead guitar rock star. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So like playing the House of Blues the other night with him was like,
Oh, he was great.
we were on fire. You know, I felt like, you know, it was a time machine. you
Great
know?
hair flip too, by the way, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Giving you big kudos on the hair flip he's got it going on. That hair just goes woo, and me having big hair, I'm very appreciative
I think
of
he
that.
just got a Pantene endorsement or something.
All right, you go, Ronnie. You
gotta
go,
wrap the
Ronnie.
book.
That's killer.
He actually makes me laugh. He's
VO5.
pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
And what I love about you guys is you're just so down to
Pantene.
earth and fun, and I know the fans appreciate that, and that means a lot. So I'm excited for you because I know as you know, I know Queensryche, and I know they're going to love you guys, but not just that. You know, the fans get a chance to discover your music. Some people that may not have had a chance to hear you before. And I know if they're anything like all of us have been since we've been listening to it, like the guys were saying, they haven't heard a song that they didn't like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, we got a couple more songs we're going to play tonight.
Okay, cool.
And first, we're going to kick the show poll and find out what the results were for that. And then we got some Eve to Adam for you.
So the social media poll on Facebook. So this social media poll that we have going on Facebook was, and this was our last poll for the year, the first one of this year, which was the better Christmas album? Twisted Sister or Rob Halford? Well, which is,
I just like to laugh at stuff. I'm sorry. It's like
it's kinda
Chucky
hard
doing
to
the
find,
voice. I just laugh at stuff, you know.
it's kind of hard to find cool hard rock and Christmas music other than TSO. You know, I don't know.
I don't know.
mean,
TSO is a whole different thing.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
a
a
whole
whole
than this,
nother
you know?
Another world.
I mean,
Whole nother
visually, I think the TSO experience includes the visual as well.
Yeah.
You want my opinion? Because I'm going to give it to you anyway. How about that? So I'm partial. I love Rob Halford. I love Judas Priest. Big
So
fan.
do I.
I'm going to say Twisted Sister because Dee Snider called me and my sister Twisted Sisters recently. So I'm biased.
Well, so that's it, huh? Oh, there you go. Just sweet
That's a
talking.
good reason. So that's good enough reason for
Song
me.
sucks,
I'm doing
but
it.
hey.
I think Halford's one of the greatest
He's a
singers
great
of all time.
vocalist, I agree.
You know,
Their
and-
new album was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Yes.
And you know, as somebody mentioned on the show poll there, they put up a picture of one of his other Christmas albums, and I think I agree with him. If that one would have been the one that was up there, I would have picked that one hands down over both of these. But I'd have to go with these two in particular, with the Twisted Sister for sure. Just a better Christmas album overall,
too.
and just good rocking.
Me too.
Doug, what's your pick over there?
Sister.
All right.
Twisted
How about
Sister.
you, Taki?
It's Twisted Sister.
Yep.
They're a New York band, you know.
So I mean, so what we're looking at poll wise is Twisted Sister winning it right now at 67%. So that sounds about right, I think. Sounds about right. So we got what songs we got coming up next, Todd?
Well, we are going to play Immortal. You want to tell us about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. It's I went out to California. Label sent me out there to work with a songwriter named Dave Bassett, who's a phenomenal writer and producer. One of my favorite works of his was The Sound of Madness by Shinedown.
Oh yeah,
You know,
great song.
So yeah, they sent us out there to write a hit, and we came back with Immortal, Shut Out the World, and Let's Burn. But I had the concept for Immortal, and I mean it was really easy working with Dave. You know, it's just like we just vibed off of each other, and I think we wrote the whole song in 45 minutes.
What's the song about?
Legacy. You know, and survival, you know, things that certain people go through that others, you know, only hear about, or it becomes legend, you know.
Yeah.
And really about the, you know, the journey of what it's like to be a musician, you know, an artist, you know, the things that you go through in life, you know, the peaks and valleys of you know, how difficult it is to really to succeed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's certainly, you end up building a certain kind of like inner strength that's unmatched by other things, you know, because by the time you get to the other side of it and people know who you are and whatnot, you've been through, you know, like they say, it's a 20-year overnight success, you know.
Right.
And that's pretty much,
Sure.
you know, what it is. But it's really about when you get there and the spotlight's on you, you know, what are you doing that's going to make them remember you?
Very cool.
You know,
Very cool. So looking at camera right there, brother, and introduce it, man.
Hey, this is our, our biggest song to date. This is the one, the only, Immortal.
I am immortal, I'll never fade away. I'm a legacy that lives beyond, far beyond the grave. I am immortal, I'll never rest in peace. And you're never gonna be, never gonna be, never be me.
Pretend that you don't know me now. They're 6 feet down, I'm still around, carved into your memory. You're never gonna forget me. You had your day, but time washed you away. You're dead, you're gone, but I'm still going strong. I am immortal, I'll never fade away. I'm a legacy that lives beyond, far beyond the grave. I am immortal, I'll never rest in peace. And you're never gonna be, never gonna be, never be, never gonna be, never gonna be, never be me. I'm never gonna need your sympathy, 'cause you'll never have a chance to miss me. You can try to shake me, I don't care. I'm permanently everywhere. They never misspell my name, how about yours? 'Cause things I've done are what they're living for. I am immortal, I'll never fade away. I'm a legacy that lives beyond, far beyond the grave. I am immortal, I'll never rest in peace. And you're never gonna be, never gonna be, never be, never gonna be, never gonna be, never be me. I am immortal, I'll never fade away. I'm a legacy that lives beyond, far beyond the grave. I am immortal, I'll never rest in peace. And you're never gonna be me. I am immortal, I'll never fade away. I'm a legacy that lives beyond, far beyond the grave. I am immortal, I'll never rest in peace. And you're never gonna be, never gonna be, never be, never gonna be, never gonna be, never be, never gonna be, never gonna be, never be me.
And there you go, Immortal by Eve to Adam. What a great song, great video, man. Yeah, that
Thank you.
Totally
place
rocks.
really does look like the Tampa Theater.
I thought
quite
it
a
was
bit. I thought
actually
it
when
was
I
too.
first watched that.
The Immortal Theater,
Yeah,
huh? That's
yeah, I
cool.
thought it was,
How cool is
yeah.
that to go with the song title?
Yeah,
That's great. So-
That was actually picked by the guitar player at the time, Gaurav Bali, and he was from New Jersey, so I guess it was all appropriate and kind of all linked up. We got the right date, the right time. You got to have a little luck too with scheduling. And
Heck yeah.
And the video is directed by Dave O'Paul, who's a good friend of mine, and he's done other videos for Butcher Baby, Seven Dust. I love the way he edits.
Yeah,
it
was nice.
He
Very
does
cool.
quick cuts, but they're not frantic looking. He's always leading you towards something, and it
Right.
looks streamlined.
Very cool.
So yeah, we're lucky, man. Like, like you look back 5 years, and like some bands are like, what was I
Yeah,
wearing?
what was I thinking about?
Those jeans were in, right? Everyone was wearing those, right? Yeah.
That looks coming back.
So like,
You wore spandex?
That little voice he does.
The
That
cri-
voice he does just kills me.
the
That's
cringe
hilarious.
factor, luckily, is
We'll have to do a
maybe the
separate
20%
show altogether.
marker. So that's pretty good. I'm not too. I have friends in other bands that are like, don't play that.
Yeah, right,
I
right,
don't even want to
right.
hear it. Yeah.
You'll have to come back after the tour.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was just gonna say,
absolutely.
we'd love to have you back on the show again, man. We
And maybe I
appreciate
could
you
do a little
coming in here
segment
and
from the
stuff,
road
so.
too, or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Check
heck yeah,
in
that would be
check in
killer.
from the road
That
on
would be
tour with
killer.
Queensryche
That's
and
really
John
cool.
5.
I'm all over that.
Maybe I
Yeah.
can get a couple of those guys on the air. Maybe I
Yeah.
can get Michael and
We'll Skype you.
and John.
Yeah.
Those guys are
Skype
fun
you.
dudes.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah,
So-
that'd be awesome. So, thanks so much for coming in, Taki. We
No, my
appreciate you
pleasure.
being here, man. We love the band.
It's a
Band
great
is
show.
Eve to
Awesome
Adam,
studio.
and they're going on tour with Queensryche and John 5. You want to catch that tour? It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing you guys play.
Yeah, it's a
together.
well-priced ticket for the talent that's on the stage.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
for sure.
$35 to $40 ticket.
Can't
Mostly
beat that.
general admission. And I think it's going to be incredible. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, great. So
Nice.
we wish you the best on that, man. Thanks again for coming in tonight. We appreciate you being here. And thanks, everybody, for watching tonight. We appreciate you. We're going to let you know when the next show will be, so be checking our Facebook page and website for that. And we'll also let you know who our next guest will be along with that. I've also got a couple of cool things in the works that I will be sure to let you know about on the very next show, because I can finally talk about it, which is going to be pretty cool.
Very good. So we also want to thank Bakemore Pies for letting us use the studio. If
Absolutely.
you want to get a video done, or you need to get some marketing done, these guys really have a really nice setup here. They really do. So you can check them out at bakemorepies.com and check it out.
Heck yeah, check it out. So you want to be sure to visit our website at thesoundeffectshow.com, where you can see previous shows and find out what's coming up on the show calendar if we fill it in. And while you're there, be sure to click on the links to visit our social media pages, share us, add us, like us, and subscribe. I'm practicing on doing that different, like every time. Did you like that?
Yeah, that was nice.
Thanks for watching. We love you guys.
No shameless plug tonight?
Oh, hey, and I'm going to give
Yeah,
myself
the
a shameless plug.
eerie
Thanks for
cricket
reminding
silence.
me. Be sure to check out my show on Rock Rage Radio, Shaking the Rafters with Michelle, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, only on rockrageradio.com. You can go to rockrageradio.com where you can listen directly, or you can download our app from the App Store, absolutely free. Got a very special guest Thursday, Jimmy Bell. You saw him on this show.
Yeah,
From
Jimmy's
Autograph, lead guitarist, and House of Lords joins me on Shaking the Rafters with Michelle Thursday. You're not going to want to miss that.
And closing out the show tonight, thank you to Taki one more time here. We have one last video from Eve to Adam for you. Their killer version of the song No Easy Way Out. Man, you did a great job on that one, brother. It's cool. You
appreciate
guys
it,
are
man.
going to
Thank you.
really like that a lot.
Thank
so
you.
thanks again, everybody, for watching. We appreciate
have a
you.
good one.
And again,
Absolutely.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Hope it's
New
an
Year.
awesome one for you.
Made it.
And we'll see you next time with the sound effect.
And I'm going to say his last name, Taki Sassarus. Thanks for joining us tonight on the show.
All right.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Very
I
good.
got it.
Very good.
That's
Good
my
stuff.
job when Taki comes back on to say his name. You could just pause and I'll say it.
There you go.
Good night,
All right,
everybody.
guys. Good night.
Rock on.
Good night.